Welcome back. The Defense Department will release new guidance soon on how its component departments and agencies should evaluate zero trust solutions for responsible use. The Pentagon's zero trust strategy revolves around a framework of 152 activities. Rob San Martin is Area Vice President for Federal at Akamai Technologies. Rob, welcome. It's great to see you again. Identity management is one of the key components that people are working on zero trust. What's your sense of what agencies are doing well and what they may be having a hard time with regarding identity management, especially as it pertains to ZT?
You know, it's a tough landscape out there for the government to have to deal with, because you as a person, your identity is always the same, but where you are or what you're doing and the permissions needed is ever changing. So being able to do that at scale and in an efficient manner, whether it's on the battlefield or it's in the office or it's somewhere outside that somebody in the DIB needs to get involved to get there, that becomes a challenge on that zero trust front and the identity of the people.
What are you seeing agencies trying to do or asking you for or working together on, whether it's DoD or civilian, to try to address that challenge?
Currently, we're spending the majority of our time in DoD on the ICAM side of the equation, right? The front door into zero trust. So being able to identify that person and have the appropriate permissions in the environment. Are they connected? Are they disconnected? Did things change from when they were connected the last time? And Akamai excels in that area with a distribution of its infrastructure so that we can accommodate the military regardless of where they are.
What makes it easier and what makes it harder for agencies to get the identity piece correct? DoD, of course, has had CACs for a number of years now, decades, and so on. Is it maybe cultural to think, well, maybe that's not the right solution for identity management anymore, or we have a lot of money sunk into that, so maybe that's something that we should try to keep going, or are there any mindset issues in your view here?
I think you're right on all of those fronts, right? We've already doing it, we're doing something, it might or might not be working. How hard is it? And then the dynamic of what they're doing, I think, is far more complex now than what it was. So, you know, the technology and the vendors, for us to be able to adapt and accommodate what they need to do, you know, because it's the least permissive situation that they're getting into, and how can we solidify that so that they have confidence that you are where you are and what you're supposed to be looking at or doing.
Just about every leader that I talk to in the department, including Mr. Garciga, who will be on the show in just a few moments, talks about the added layers of complexity that edge computing present to the environments that they're building. What does that concept of computing at the edge, and therefore identity management at the edge, mean for people that are trying to solve these problems?
Yeah, that edge compute or edge awareness is a keystone for Akamai. So being able to process with the accurate information and or make the communications and the appropriate decisions. So are you in sync? Are you communicating at the right time? And do you have that? I think is an advantage, but it's a challenge because the edge is ever evolving and ever moving. Our edge is not the same as somebody else's edge. So where is the edge? That's the biggest discussion in the conversation, that everybody has differing opinions. It's got to be solved.
Well, and I think you're on target there too, because what your edge is today might not be your edge tomorrow either. And I imagine, so it's like a three-dimensional layer of complexity there. Is that a fair read on my part?
It is fair, and it also depends where we are geographically, right? We can get closer in some circumstances, and then there's absolutely the situations where the military, where they can't get to the backbones and the edge, and how can we accommodate or try to help them so they can, if you will, communicate in clear sight without anybody knowing what's going on there. That's a whole nother challenge, and the edge actually then becomes the forward deployment, where we have to originate and then, you know, get communications from.
All right, we have about a minute left, Rob. You mentioned the front door. I love that analogy, comparing ICAM to the front door. What's right behind the front door for a zero trust professional? If they get to a point where they think, okay, pretty confident that we have that piece of it okay, what's the next thing to pay attention to in your view?
I think that that evolving market for API security and then segmentation, right? So you're getting two other layers in the Swiss cheese right away. Is this something that is supposed to be coming in or communicating? And then on the segmentation side, are they something that has been here before, we recognize it, or do we need to stop and take a quick check to figure out, is this something that we really want or not?
Rob, it's great to have you on the program again. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
You can read more about identity management and zero trust in the federal government on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com.